Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome you to a new League of Legends video. So it seems a lot of you have enjoyed my Duelist Z video, and at the same time a lot of you are waiting for the Assassin Z build video. So I'm very happy to present that build in this video. First I want to say that I'm going to be presenting 3 variations of the build. All the variations are very similar to each other, it's just some builds are better than others based on a specific reason. And also because I want to give you guys slight variations so you can choose which one you think you will like the most. So before I lay out all of the builds for you guys, first let me explain to you my thought process behind creating these builds. With exception to one of the builds that I will mention, I am trying to exclude Blade of the Ruined King. The reason is now because again, that item focuses more on the auto attack portion. And in the assassination build, my goal is to make a build that has a lot of raw damage, meaning that you can go into the fight, ulti your high priority target, do a lot of damage really quickly in a matter of seconds, literally, and then get out and watch the deathmark explode them, if they're even alive still. In my mind, the way this should work when you deathmark your target is to use the deathmark, use your EQ combo, auto attack the target, proc the Hydra or Tiamat, and then get out with your ultimate shadow. And with that being said, I also want to specifically mention that these builds incorporate 2 items in every single variation. The first item being the new Bloodthirster, simply because it has a lot of raw damage that you don't have to build up anymore. And as an assassin, someone who will probably die a little too often, the fact that you don't have to stack it up every single time you die is a huge bonus. The second item will be the Tiamat and then the Hydra, mainly due to the active effect for the auto attack reset just to get in more damage faster and get out. And of course the AoE portion of it with your raw damage is definitely a huge bonus in team fights. Alright, that's enough delaying the main thing that you're waiting for. Let's go into the build. The first build I will talk to you guys about is more or less the standard one. This is the one that I personally, out of the 3 I'll mention, will almost always use, because I think it just goes so well together. It has a pretty strong early game, but focuses more towards the late game. And here's how it goes. You do want to start with a longsword and 3 pots, which is the same starting items that you will have for all 3 builds. Following that, you want to finish the Brutalizer ASAP. Once that is done, you want to go straight for the Tiamat. And this is where you're already pretty strong. You can wave clear extremely quickly and then start roaming, or continue pressure onto your opponent in the lane, making them miss CS under tower. Following the Tiamat, you want to get the Bloodthirster. And this of course is when you get the huge power spike in damage. After this, you most certainly want to get the Last Whisperer, then finish the Brutalizer into a Black Cleaver and finish up the Hydra. And then you can finish off with some sort of defensive item or maybe Sword of the Divine. And of course you do want to get your boots, whichever you prefer. Personally, I get the +5 boots early in the game, somewhere around the time where you finish buying your Tiamat. So this is the first build that I want to talk to you guys about, and this is the most standard one and the one I personally recommend. But if there's something in this build you're somewhat not sure about, or you're not liking, or you just want to have more options to choose from, let me present to you guys build number 2. This build focuses on getting a lot of strong early game items in order to get your mid game extremely strong so you snowball into late game. But with that being said, it is somewhat of a more greedy build. And this is the exception that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So again, you start off with a longsword and 3 pots, but this time you want to finish it into a cutlass. But the thing that's interesting about this build is that you're leaving it at the cutlass for the majority of the build, because all you're doing with this one is getting the slow effect from it so that it's even easier to assassinate your opponents. Since I'm sure you realize in the first build you don't have anything to slow your target other than your Shadow Slash ability, and you're not wasting gold to get the attack speed portion of Blade of the Ruined King, so you're simply getting exactly what you need, nothing more, nothing less. Following the cutlass, you want to get the Brutalizer. And around now, you might want to think about getting the boots or finish the Tiamat and then your boots. And from here, it goes just the same as the first one. You get the Bloodthirster, the Black Cleaver, and or the Last Whisperer, whichever you prefer first, and then the other one after. Following that, you want to finish your Hydra, and then if you so choose, you can finish your Blade of the Ruined King. So as I'm sure you can see, the first 3 items that you get are all half items, which means you're not finishing all 3 items until later in the game. Therefore, it is really greedy, but it gives you a huge power spike mid game. Now again, if you don't like this build, if you think you don't want to use the cutlass or have anything to do with the Blade of the Ruined King whatsoever, let me present to you guys one more variation, build 3. This one is going to be very similar to build 1. And again, it does start off with the longsword 3 pots, into the Brutalizer, into the Tiamat. But instead of getting the Bloodthirster, Bloodthirster next, I actually get the Youmuu's. Youmuu's early to mid game is very strong, but keep in mind getting a Youmuu's in this build will not make it as assassin as I personally would like it, which is why I do prefer the Black Cleaver, since Youmuu's usually means that you will want to auto attack them a few more times. But nevertheless, you do get the Bloodthirster next, followed by Last Whisper, and then you finish the Hydra. So those are the 3 builds that I wanted to talk about in the Assassination Z build video. Let it all sink in and give it a good thought. Figure out which of the 3 that I mentioned do you think you would enjoy the most, or better yet, just test all 3 of them in an actual game. A lot of this is trial and error, and some of the builds that work for me may not necessarily work for you. So again, go try them out, see which one fits your playstyle more, and have fun. I do think all 3 of these builds are great, but again, I do simply personally prefer the first one. But with all of that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, hope you have learned something new, and I want to mention that I will be releasing one more Z video that will be talking about builds, because there are 2 more builds that I have in mind that I really want to mention, and I will mention both of them in the next video. But again, I hope you guys did enjoy this one, learn something new, and I hope to see you next time. Peace!